Megatron, your mama is like a basketball court, 'cause guys are constantly slamming their balls on her.
Jesus, Prime, that's pretty savage. Welcome back, everyone. Toysh is here, and I am back yet again to give you guys another early, fresh look, courtesy of my friends over at Super 7. And today we are checking out one of their brand new Transformers Ultimates, Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots. You gotta have Optimus Prime. As many Optimus Primes that I have, we'll see how this one stacks up to the rest of them, right? But you got the brown shipper box, and you got this really cool, basically just a slip cover box, right? Just like the Ninja Turtle Ultimates that I have. And at the very top, you see it says Ultimates, right? Part of their Ultimates line. You got this really cool grid pattern from the 80s. Very cool. Optimus Prime in all his lenticular glory, right? Nice little shine to the box. But of course, this is just the slip cover, and you pull it up to reveal, hey, it's Optimus Prime, right? G1 cartoon comic book. Optimus Prime, look at it in exquisite detail, of course, but he comes with a whole host of accessories, and I think that that's where this Optimus Prime really shines, is in the accessories. And on the back side, of course, you get that old school Transformers schematics where he tells you all about the strength and the speed of each Autobot or Decepticon. It's an overall really nice presentation. I'll give it to him all day. I'm not going to say that I'm one of those where I need this big fancy box. For me, you can always just put it in a plastic bag, and I would be good to go. So, we're going to pull out some Optimus Primes from the old collection. We're going to look at this guy in detail. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a nice hot cup of coffee, or Energon, right? Nice little Energon cube. You can sip on that, I guess. This is a look at the brand new Transformers Ultimates Optimus Prime by Super 7. I should have done my Peter Cullen voice again. Optimus Prime. It's too late. We've already missed the opportunity. So you get everything out of the box, right? And like I said, for me, in looking at Transformers these days, not only is this a Transformer that doesn't transform, which I'll go into more detail, but that's totally cool with me, but you get very show-specific accessories, and that is really where Super 7 shines, right? They always do such a nice job of pulling out episode-specific accessories, and as I keep telling them, please do the real Ghostbusters. That would be nice, right? Let them know down in my comments below. Real Ghostbusters, right? Super 7, that would be wild. But, you know, you have hands, you got the Energon X, you got a really big, cool surfboard. Yeah, there was an episode where Optimus Prime and the rest of the Autobots go surfing to escape a tidal wave. Doesn't matter, right? So you got Optimus Prime and all these wonderful accessories, but how do they stack up in terms of elevating the figure? Well, let's talk about the hands, first and foremost. Whereas I look at the Ninja Turtle Ultimates, and they come with a ton of different hands, I do wish this Optimus did have more hands, because I feel like sometimes you'd be kind of limited in terms of what you want to do or how you want to pose them. In particular, let's say this. Something I noticed with the Rocksteady Ninja Turtle Ultimates figure. Much like that figure, this one, unfortunately, the hand that holds the trigger and the gun, you can't get it all the way up to hold it perfectly. Like, you can't get the finger because the butt of the gun prohibits the hand from kind of going up. You can kind of finagle it, see if you kind of push it up just a little bit more. You can get it there to a degree. I like it where it's just right on the trigger, you know, that kind of thing. But it's just something to point out, because otherwise, yes, he holds it beautifully. The gun looks great. That is Optimus Prime's gun, first and foremost. And if anything, I'll just tell you, I really wish there's a little bit more paint deco on the gun. Maybe some highlights, some grays, something like that. But in terms of like the finger pointing hand, that's fantastic. Calling out Megatron, telling Hot Rod, yeah, you're probably going to kill me one of these days. I just know it, right? Traumatizing. And then you have the basketball palming hand. You'll notice that there is a peg on that one. And yeah, that is specifically for the basketball. Yes, at some point as well, in the Autobot compound, they decided to install a basketball court. Of course, right? Because that's just the sport of all of Cybertron right there. But he palms it nicely, he holds it nicely. I think that's pretty hilarious. This is the kind of goofy stuff I like nowadays when it comes to my collecting. I got dozens of Optimus Primes and everything else, but I don't have an Optimus Prime with a basketball. So that's good. And in terms of what I'm talking about with the extra hand, see, you have the one that holds the hand. I really wish that there was kind of a matching hand for a lot of these accessories. Don't get me wrong. When you have the basketball holding hand on one side, then you can't use the finger pointing hand but you can use more of the outstretched open hand to kind of hold the basketball. You know what I mean? You can finagle it, but I just wish that he had just a few more so you could do the kind of stuff that you want. On the backside, really nice back to Optimus Prime. Very cartoon accurate, very comic book accurate as well. He's kind of a mix between the two, but more on that in just a second, because we have Sideswipe's jetpack. He borrowed Sideswipe's jetpack, had to go handle some business. I'm not too sure that I like the way it is fixes. It totally does the trick. So basically what you do is right there between his shoulder blades, you could say, his robo blades, you kind of have to just work your way up, and it holds it in beautifully, right? Once it's in, and it does the trick through and through. I just think that maybe over time you do it too much. I mean, it could erode some of the plastic. So far, so good. But that's just me pointing it out, right? So in either case, though, it looks good. It fits well. But it does have enough to it where, you know, it's enough for me to go, yeah, that's the jetpack that Optimus Prime used, right? In terms of the matrix of leadership, we'll say he can hold it fairly well, right? He's got the one hand that does it. But if you look at Transformers 86, right, when he goes to hand the Matrix off to Magnus and he drops it, the other hand is what's holding it. So again, I just wish there was a little bit more hands to mirror one another and just have some more posability options. In terms of holding the actual Matrix, you know, when he kind of puts his fingers between it, he pulls it apart, or, you know, any of the Autobots do that, you can't do that in this sense. He really doesn't have the hands to activate it. There's nothing there. Yes, again, you can fidget with it. You could do all that kind of stuff, but I just wish that there was the actual hands. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going full-blown cartoon Optimus, that's really what I've liked to have seen. He totally has the Energon axe. The Energon axe, it totally works for me. It does the trick. I've just never really been a fan personally of the Energon axe from, like, what, the one or two times it showed up in the show, and Megatron has got the mace ball. It's just like, okay, you know what I mean? But in terms of what they've done here, yeah, they've recreated it perfectly. Now, this is one where I really had to look it up. But then that goes to show you that Super 7, they tell me when they do these accessories that they know the lore, they know the show, even better than me, which is fantastic as well, because a lot of times with other companies or other toy lines, I go, you know what I mean? So this is basically like Energon restraints, right? It kind of looked like a goop monster, but I like what they did here. If you look at the cartoon, they've recreated it pretty much pitch perfect. It looks great. There's little sparkles. The colors really gel. It's a very flexible rubber, which totally works. So basically, all it really does, if you had several of these, and if they gradually released like all the Autobots that were in that one scene, it's kind of just like a binding thing. And that's really all it is. So because it's more of a bendy, stretchy, flexible rubber, you can really go to town. There really isn't a right or wrong way to put this on. And every time it could be different if you want. But that's what I kind of dig about this thing, right? It doesn't have to look perfect, but it just essentially is restraints for Optimus Prime. So it totally works for my tastes. And then you have the Surfboard, which again, this is what really is elevating this Optimus Prime in terms of my collection. The Surfboard is pretty much that standard cartoon, very flat plastic. There's nothing really to it. You got two pegs, which he's got two peg holes on the bottom of his feet. And this is what I like. Like, we got the basketball and now you got the surfboard. So, you know what I mean? It's just, it's wackadoo. It's fun. But again, it's pulling out very show-specific traits. And I like that. I like when companies tell me that they're paying attention to stuff. Plus, where else are you going to get an Optimus Prime with a surfboard? Just saying. It's very cool to me. Now, this head in particular, I got to give it to him all day. This is supposed to be like the old school, the toy head, right, from the original Optimus Prime. It's kind of like the promo image graphics of maybe even the collector's box, right? You can put all your figures in there. Some of the Marvel Comics stuff. I really do like this head portrait. I think it's fantastic. I like the other one. I like the standard, you know, cartoon / comic book Optimus Prime head. But there's something about this one where I'm just like, yeah, that's pretty well done. I got to give it to him all day. So I definitely dig that. But those accessories aside, right? You got all these great ones. The best one, the one that I'm like, finally. Now, I know he's shown up in more masterpiece type scales and everything else with Transformers. But we finally have a Spike Witwicky figure. He's just a little slug of a figure. He's a teeny tiny little figure. You can fit in Optimus Prime's hand. There's not a whole heck of a lot to him. He's painted fairly well for as tiny as he is. He could have been just a little bit cleaner, just to be honest with you. But this is my favorite accessory. This is just fantastic. All these years, I wish that Hasbro would have like released like a humans pack or something like that. Yeah, we've gotten off-end ones here and there, but to me, this is all I needed. This is very cool to see. So I definitely love that you could put him on top of Optimus's shoulder. He's just standing there. He's just hanging out. It's fantastic. Hands down, favorite accessory out of the bunch. So we've taken a look at all the accessories, but how does this Optimus Prime stack up in terms of the articulation and the overall look? And for me, I would say that it seems to be that they're kind of going more for the cartoon G1 original animated Optimus Prime. There are a couple misses here and there. I would say he's more of a G1 Optimus Prime with the toy and then also the Marvel Comics look. It's kind of a mishmash, and as you can see on the bottom of his feet, you do have you have Hasbro on one side, you have Super 7 on the others, the collaboration, right? And then yeah, he doesn't have any cell shading, he doesn't have anything like that, but they've pretty much perfectly recreated Optimus Prime. He has a few blemishes on the plastic, just to point that out. The head, you'll get a fair amount of rotation out of it. Nice articulation in terms of what I would prefer. You can get him looking up a little bit. I mean, sure, it would be nice to maybe get him looking up just a little bit more, but for me, it's totally doable. And then you have right here on the arms, right? You kind of have to, kind of like the Transformers Red series, if you saw my video. They're treating it more, it's not flesh and blood, it's robotics. It's blocks stacking on blocks. So you get the arms out around that much. That's nice. He spins at the elbow. He spins at the bicep. But that's pretty much it in terms of how the elbows are going to move. And in all honesty, while I'm not a huge stickler for articulation, I personally would have loved to have seen just a little bit more to be able to kind of get more of an angle out of that in terms of movement. The hands, swap them out, easy peasy, nothing's loose, everything stays in. You kind of have an ab crunch, and then you have a waist swivel as well. Now, right here, you have like his truck part, like the skirt piece, you could kind of say. This is more of a rubber, so as you can see, it kind of moves when you want to move the legs around, which, hey, that totally works in that sense. You can do the splits. How often does Optimus do the split? Who knows? He kind of has, you could say, like a upper thigh swivel kind of thing. He doesn't have anything in terms of a spin at the knee, but he just has a single blocky joint, we'll just say. So he gets about that much articulation. The feet basically just go up and down. I thought it had maybe like a rock in there. It might have a rock in there, but I wouldn't say that it really does anything or adds anything to it. So overall, it's one of those figures where if you're looking for a superposable Optimus Prime, I don't think this is going to be for you. In terms of just sitting him on the shelf, having things scale with one another, right? That's cool. The one part that bothers me, though, is that with the Matrix of Leadership, it doesn't go in his chest. It's kind of like a brain malfunction for me. Like, it's supposed to go in there. I don't know why it doesn't. I would have loved to have seen it do that. It's different, but I would have liked to have seen it do it. And then you have the windows where the blue, I think, would have benefited if you had like some kind of plastic to give it more of the window look, or just have a little bit of cell shading, like a white, to kind of give it like a mirrored look. In all honesty, there is some parts and pieces that I prefer, where if you look at the cartoon, the grays on this action figure probably should have been white. Yes, it's 80s cartoons rules. The style guides don't match up to what you see on the show. But I would have liked to have seen some extra white pieces as opposed to gray parts for this Optimus Prime. And, and in really capturing the look of the figure, in all honesty, yeah, it's been fairly translated from cartoon to plastic for the most part. Now, in terms of scalature, you have so many different Optimus Primes to choose from, right? And I would totally say that if I had to make an educated guess, Hasbro was probably like, hey, Super 7, you're going to make Transformers, but you can't do any that are in direct competition for us. Hence the non-transforming. Hence different accessories and maybe different application paint, not being able to put the Matrix of Leadership in the chest. Who knows? But if I had to guess, yeah, you have all the Hasbro ones that do it. You have the Transformers Red ones that do it. But yeah, this Transformers Ultimate series, it's going to be its own scale, its own thing altogether. If you look at it in terms of Lego, completely different take for Optimus Prime, doing their own thing, right? Even down to Super Impulse, little miniature action figures in a Optimus Prime packaging. So there's going to be a different Optimus Prime, a different look, a different set of rules for each figure. Does that make it a bad figure? Does it not do what you want it to do? So hands down, oh my god, I can't believe it. No, it's not at all. I have so many Optimus Primes that now, yeah, it's nice to see so many different variations. However, if I had to make a recommendation and say, hey, is this a good Optimus Prime for my collection? I've never had Optimus Prime. Well, yeah, it's a good jumping off point, because if you want a Transformer that's got all these cool accessories, that's what really does it for me. I like all the accessories for this guy. I've been kind of bugging Hasbro for years. Like, why can't Transformers have alternate hands? Why can't they have alternate heads? Well, yeah, when you start transforming, it's not going to work out too well. So in that sense, I like what Super 7 has done. Now, with the recent Walmart Red series, these look like they've taken a direct page, whether they did it or Hasbro took it from them, but they're almost the exact same. However, yeah, it's a big price difference, but it's the scalature, and in all honesty, the quality of the Hasbro Red series varies, right? It's very gummy articulation, nothing scales. Sure, you got a lot of accessories for most of the time, but if you look at it in terms of what Super 7 has done, saying they're going to scale these figures, for the most part, like I said, we've already gone through the accessories. I like them all for the most part. Sure, there's some aspects here and there that I would have changed, but in terms of the scalature, in terms of the look, in terms of fitting other Transformers in your collection with this Super 7 Ultimates line, it's probably going to be few and far between. I couldn't really find any right off the bat, but that doesn't make it a bad thing. So if you're a new collector, if you're looking to get into Transformers, you don't care about the transforming aspects, yeah, well, then I would say this probably would be right up your alley. And just as a scalature in and of itself, showing these off with the Super 7 TMNT Ultimates, you're getting a very large, it's an 8-inch Optimus Prime. Now, I will have to look at the rest of the figures in the Wave 1 of the Transformers Ultimates, so stay tuned for that. It's a larger figure, especially in comparison to the 7-inch McFarlane or the 6-inch Black Series, right? So you're getting a big, hefty figure with a lot of accessories, and that's never a bad thing. So that's going to wrap it up for my look at the brand new Super 7 Transformers Ultimates Optimus Prime. A very unique Optimus Prime. One in and of itself, both with its accessories, its design, kind of incorporating several different looks. For me all day, it's the accessories that make this figure. There's a couple odd choices here and there, but the accessories, the nods to G1, the old cartoon, more than make up for it. There's a couple odd ends here and there, just to reiterate that, but ones that I would say, these are my gripes, this is what I think, and not necessarily going to affect you. It's going to be on the pricey side, just FYI. But if this is the only line you're out to collect, you look at it that way, it's not too shabby. But if you're looking for a collector line, right, with all these accessories that, yes, all the future Autobots and Decepticons should scale well with this guy, well then, look no further. But, as always, I am curious to know what you guys think about this Transformers Ultimates Optimus Prime. Is it for you? Will you be grabbing? Comment below, let me know. Let's talk everything Optimus Prime, and thank you again to Super 7 for sending this over to give you guys this fresh look. So I'm going to leave you guys with that. As always, drink some great coffee, eat some great food, but most importantly, remember, an extra head, if it ever came to fruition, that would be really cool, the zombie Optimus Prime. Totally would have dug that. And when you do, let me know what you found. I'll talk to you guys soon. Adios.